Already we're starting off with a new setting? Man, Season 3 is just starting to crank out different settings here. Today's place to be featured was Arlesburg Harbor, an area of which Duck and Percy worked as well as Knapford Harbor. There, they would relocate all kinds of goods that would be imported or exported. Liners had passengers while cargo ships brought industrial things.
On a clear summer's night, there's no better place to be.
Yes, no better place to be, especially if that tune was consistently played. Who can't love that tune? I'd more prefer it to stay with the viaduct, but this is okay too. It's such a deeply relaxing composition. I could truly listen to it all day. Sometime during the day, Percy and Duck was resting at the Sodor Trading Company, admiring the regatta and horizon from afar. Duck was daydreaming, though.
I wish I could sail to faraway lands, sighed Duck. Engines can't go sailing, snorted Percy, because engines can't float. Duck still had his dreams.
Where is this motivation coming from? Duck, being Mr. Great Western, I'm surprised has this goal in mind. I guess he wants to travel so he could tell more individuals about his Great Western habits. Funny how Percy, though, is the one not agreeing with him, being that he too had his own silly fantasy at the start of this season in a scarf for Percy. Looks like dressing an engine in clothing is fine, but sailing? No, we can't do that. If anything, the latter is more plausible. Engines can be shipped overseas if it's truly needed. Speaking of transport vehicles, Harold dropped in like he's done before for a quick flyby.
Great fun. I hover around in case I'm needed. Do you go to the horizon? Asked Duck. Yes, and beyond. I didn't know there was a beyond, whispered Percy. Certainly. I can land on ships, you know. Anywhere, anytime. Goodbye. Duck sighed.
Oh, brother, get over it, Duck. You really think you're going to journey beyond Sodor? Wow, that was strange to hear myself reference it like that. That's so far away from now, too. And what is it with Harold and his landings? He touches his landing pad and flies off again. I feel like he just shows up to brag. And yet he doesn't do it ignorantly either. Good thing the wind isn't too strong. Otherwise, he'd be grounded like he was in the post-train episode a ways back. Anyway, Duck kept blabbing about the regatta, and Percy finally got fed up.
Well, Duck, I'd rather have my wheels on solid ground. Our rails can take us to all the places we could ever wish to see. That's an emergency, called Duck's driver. I'll check with the harbor master. He returned with bad news.
The bad news was that a sailor had injured his hand in the regatta and was being flown over to the Sodor Trading Company for pickup, and Duck was going to get him. I just want to go back to the chat before the alarm rang, though. Even Percy had finally become annoyed with Duck's monotonous talk. It's certainly not the Great Western way, but that doesn't seem to be on his mind right now. Percy really should have said something like that to make Duck snap out of it. But at this point, getting the man from Harold was Duck's focus now.
Good to see you again, Duck, whirred Harold as he landed carefully on the platform. The man was gently helped to safety.
I see we got another Harold cue played again, and it sounded like more trumpet was heard this time as well. Also, another notable change in Harold, which actually could have been noticed at the start of this season, was his propellers. No longer are they shown to be a round disc to make it look like they're spinning really fast. Now, they really are propellers that act like real helicopter propellers. Adding to that, fans get even more set pieces for visual eye candy. These places haven't been shown before, nor has this tune, I don't think, has ever been played. When Duck arrived at Lower Sudrey's goods station, Bertie took the injured sailor. Wait a second, was that guy just sitting in Duck's cab the whole way down? That must have been uncomfortable. I think Harold would have been a more soothing ride than an engine cab. Anyway, Bertie also couldn't help but compliment Duck on how well he ran down the line. This in turn ended up changing Duck's mind towards going out to sea. He realized after this he is best where he is currently. Later that evening, Percy and Duck were hanging out at the Sodor Trading Company when Harold hovered by to drop another message. Literally.
It's a flag from the regatta. Harold's giving it to you as a present, Duck. That was kind of Harold, whispered Duck. He may have whirly arms instead of wheels, but he seems to understand just what an engine needs. Duck still wonders about the lands beyond the horizon, but I think he knows that sometimes the best travels are those we can only dream about. Don't you?
What? That's Henry's forest theme. That doesn't get used here. I mean, I welcome the musical cue, but no. And look, hey Thomas, not sure why you're in this all of a sudden. This episode was different. I'm not all for it, but I'm not totally against it either. This story was more about Duck learning something about himself and where he belongs. And this was only realized once Duck was given a job that was about as equal as what Harold kept talking about. Yes, Harold may go further distances, but he's there mainly to help people, which is exactly what Duck did for the injured sailor. Percy tried telling him something along those lines, but his was of a surface-based understanding. As for motivations go, there's nothing wrong with having dreams of doing something out of the norm, but it should be reasonable. It's just good that Duck realized this through himself. Unlike a Scarf for Percy or even Thomas Goes Fishing from Season 1, both Thomas and Percy had aspirations that were just silly. Hey, maybe they were just young and stupid at the time. That might be it. As for Harold, he too is a bit confusing. The engines find him obnoxious at times for flying in whenever he wants to, and then occasionally he will be generous and give a gift here and there. Yet he loves, though, to talk about how much better he is than everyone else. It's a weird mix of smug and kind, and I would prefer it if the writers picked a personality and stuck with it. The music utilized in this entry was A-OK. The Viaduct, or Harbor theme at this point, is always an enjoyable tune to hear. Harold's theme is heard at least 2 to 3 times during this episode, and lastly was the Chase theme, I believe it's called, when Duck runs down the line with the injured sailor. Lastly, for visuals, this episode had much to offer. Of what is familiar, Knapford Harbor is seen at the start and halfway through. Also, Tidmouth Tunnel is a structure Duck comes out of. The new set pieces was the Lower Sudbury Goods Station, Arlesburg Harbor, the 3-tier bridge, the 3-way road, and finally the Sodor Trading Company. Arlesburg Harbor is an interesting set. It's not exactly clear how the lines run there since this is our first time seeing it, however. The 3-way road is the next best thing, being that there are so many lines that run in that tight junction. And of course, the final shot of the Sodor Trading Company when the 3 engines watch the sunset is a beautiful shot, one of which was featured in various VHS music videos. Next episode is One Good Turn. Thanks for watching.